Hello students, I'm posting a very brief explanation of Charles Baudelaire's To the Reader. First, we will look at the lines of the poem. The poem is originally in French, but here we are having the translated version. Stupidity, delusion, selfishness, and lust torment our bodies and possess our minds, and we sustain our affable remorse the way a beggar nourishes his lice. Our sins are stubborn, our contrition lame. We want our scruples to be worth our while. How cheerfully we crawl back to the mire. A few cheap tears will wash our stains away. Saturn Trismegistus subtly rocks our ravaged spirits on his wicked bed, until the precious metal of our will is reached out by this cunning alchemist. The devil's hand directs our every move. The things we looted become the things we love. Day by day we drop through the stinking shades. So we see here the images of depravity, the banality of the human soul, of the human character. Further, as the poem proceeds, we see more the images of decadence, quite undeterred on our descent to hell, like a poor profligate who sucks and bites the withered breast of some well-seasoned trull. We snatch in passing at clandestine joys, and squeeze the oldest orange hardest yet. Wriggling in our brains like a million worms, a demon Demos holds its revels there, and when we breathe, the lead in our lungs trickles shining on its secret course, if rape and arson, poison and the knife have not yet stitched their ludicrous designs. Now here in these lines, since the sexist visions of city and culture and women into the sex trade are so openly discussed, critics have imposed ideas of banality, ideas of immorality on Baudelaire. But rather than focusing on immorality or banality, Baudelaire is exposing the culture of his times, a culture which is still prevalent not only in France or in the Western world, but also in our contemporary reality. The last part of the poem. Now, this entire poem is a translated one, and various versions of translation are available. The version that has been incorporated in this video has been downloaded from poetryfoundation.org. Unto the banal buckram of our fates, it is because our souls lack enterprise. But here among the scorpions and the lice, the jackals, apes and vultures, snakes and wolves, monsters that howl and growl and squeal and crawl, in all the squalid zoo of vices one is even uglier and fouler than the rest. Although the least flamboyant of the lot, this beast would gladly undermine the earth and swallow all creation in a yawn. I speak of boredom, with its ready tears, dreams of hanging as it puffs its pipe. Reader, you know this squeamish monster well. Hypocrite reader, my alias, my twin. So this poem is directed to the reader who the poet believes to be of his own category. And here he is talking not just about the banality of the soul, but also about the decaying nature of the human brain or the human creative faculties, which are often succumbed, which are often, which are often under the thrall of the greatest factor that pulls one down, that is ennui, and he thinks that ennui is even more deadlier than the deadliest of beasts that are found in the zoo. And there's a brief introduction to the poet. Charles Pierre Baudelaire was born in Paris in 1821. His early formed resolve to become a man of letters was displeasing to his family. They designed him for commerce and, in the hope of distracting him from his purpose, sent him on a voyage to the East. Baudelaire's sole volume of verse, Les Fleurs du Mal, from where this poem has been taken, was published in 1857. Its first reception was hostile. The poet and his publisher were fined and were ordered to suppress portions of the book. Baudelaire never forgot this exhibition of Philistinism. His unsuccessful candidacy in 1862 for election to the French Academy was, it has been suggested, by way of protest against his condemnation. Now, we have to look into the poet-reader relationship, which is the focus of this poem. In the mid to late 19th century, the relationship between poets and their readers was profoundly changing. Victor Hugo argued that his long career that it was their role to enlighten mankind, calling them les premiers educateurs du peuple. But by the mid-19th century, young poets rejected this romantic conception of the poet as a voice for humanity. In 1857, Baudelaire famously addressed his reader in the preface to Les Fleurs du Mal as hypocrite lecteur mon semblance mon frère. As Claude Pichot notes in his introduction to Les Fleurs du Mal from his point on Poésie as devenue aggression, that is the decay of poesy. Following his conviction for immorality in the trial against LFDM, Baudelaire reflected bitterly on the fundamental differences between poet and reader. He and his successors hardened their positions on readership and defined poetry as an elite practice isolated from the public's gaze. So for them, poetry was not for all, but only for a select few who understood the content of poetry. The mid-19th century French poets such as Charles Baudelaire, Lautréamont, Charles Cros used prefaces to criticize and chase away readers. Later poets such as Mallarmé, Rimbaud abstained from addressing readers by not writing prefaces or publishing their poetry. So, To the Reader can be considered as the last liminal text in the late Romantic tradition in French poetry, in which the rapport between the reader and the poet played a central role in the work of poetry, and by refusing to write prefaces or even books like Rimbaud and Verlaine later in their career. Now, the notion that the average reader was unappreciative or even hostile to poetry led poets like Baudelaire to attack them and increasingly argue that real poetry should keep them away. In doing so, he helped shape a younger generation of poets beginning in the 1860s who largely defined their relationship to readers as based on the poet's fundamental abstention from public life and any interaction with the common reader. The leader of the reclusive symbolist movements, Stephen Mallarmé, typifies this position in the famous 1891 Enquête Huret, defining the poet-reader relationship to the poet's refusal to engage with the public. The women and city presented in Baudelaire. Deborah L. Parsons has argued that femininity in Baudelaire implies a concern with the place of women in the city and art of modernity that goes beyond personal prejudice. Because of the thematic, formal, and ideological saturation of femininity throughout Baudelaire's oeuvre, we are forced to confront the utter impossibility of sealing off the masculine, inflected agency of a misogynist lyric without having it dissolve the very moment we try to presuppose its stability. Baudelaire's observations on femininity, the individual, art, or the world at large in his writing needs to be situated from the fraught center of the 19th century Paris in the midst of cultural transformations, an overhaul not only of streets, buildings, and commerce, but also of ideology, ways of thinking, and the excess of gendered subjectivity. In this poem, the poet dissects his own personality and displays it as an example of warning or of emulations. So Baudelaire's poetry is a spiritual tragedy far more worthy of pity than contempt. Moral indignation on the part of certain criticism that is typically doctrinarian in a sense and subservient to tradition has so far been somewhat prejudiced and perhaps too exacting in tone and forgetful of the indebtedness of modern French poetry to this great initiator. Of the other themes that he talks about in this poem to the reader, one is mutability. And he also talks about this idea of ennui which kills creativity, and it can be read from a Nietzschean point of existential analysis by talking about the negative will to power. The negative will to power that kills creativity is for Baudelaire ennui, okay, because it kills the brain. The ennui seeps through the brain like worms and it debars the thinking or the creating capacity of the individual. So the personal note is never absent from the utterance. You are my brother, mon semblance. He says to each of his readers, your hypocrisy is mine. And since the voice is one speaking in the midst of men and not from above men, the message is more convincing. Death, the wages of sins, is a living presence in the poetry of Baudelaire. The poet's vision of death is almost material, devoid of spiritual commentary. His vision is fixed on the physical aspects of decay, the accompaniments of the epic of dissolution.